Hello everyone, welcome to the Jenkins Infrastructure Weekly Team Meeting. Today we are the 1st July of 2025. Around the virtual table we have myself, Damien Duportal. Jay most probably won't be able to join. Mark, we don't know. Stefan Mer is here. Uno Verarten. We have Pirajit and Jack. Is Zhang the proper pronunciation? Zhang?
You can just see Z as symbol. Jack
Okay,
Z.
Jack Z.
Ah,
Okay.
here in my GitHub ID, you can use this one.
Okay,
So
good.
it's ZHANG.
Zhang. Sorry, my bad.
Or just use Z.
Cool. So welcome everyone. Let's get started with announcements. So last week, we successfully released Jenkins Weekly 2.5.16. Note we had a delay on the Windows packaging because we updated the agent to have the latest version of Git on Windows. However, that version introduced regression. That's a tricky one that happens on some repositories that are EV without Git LFS, only on SSH and randomly. Of course, we've hit the issue, even if we don't have an EV repo. So we had to emergency rollback in order to deliver. Outside on this, everything is okay. This week, the release 2.5.17 started on time. We won't have the Git packaging issue because the base agent image is back to 2.49. We will only update once the issue will be fixed because it was already reported upstream. So we decided to downgrade the official Jenkins agent images in Docker for Windows. Any question on the weekly releases? Okay, on the announcement, last week we had the Jenkins LTS update. 2.504.3 has been released last Friday. No Windows Git issue for this one. That's an LTS. It was deployed to the platform in less than 24 hours and nothing specific. That was first time Philippe Glantz, the new contributor, was release lead, so congratulations. And thanks Chris Stern for helping Philippe going up to that release because it took some time and they ended up really late their time. So thanks everyone. We had a uncomfortable Docker Hub automatic message this night. So that has been almost sorted out. But right now, since last night, the Jenkins and Jenkins CI Infra Docker images are not marked as open source on the Docker Hub. That was an automatic subscription ending. In fact, Docker had an issue. They weren't able to send us a 30 or 45 days notice that it was going to automatically be shut down. And in order to solve that, we had to reapply to the open source program. That's a yearly reapply. So it has been reapplied, the support contacted, we had the answer. We are waiting for them to process and re-enable our subscription. In theory, that means our user should suffer the rate limit until it is fixed. However, I wasn't able to reproduce. So I have a feeling that it takes 24 hours for the subscription system to update the configuration on the front ends of the Docker. So crossing fingers, they might fix the issue before rate limit happens. However, both with the official Jenkins images or with the internal infra images, if you saw errors pulling the images, most probably it's the rate limits. So next year, we will have a notification for us, for ourselves, even if Docker fixed their notification system. We are very grateful for Docker to sponsor us because that's a lot of money. That's really helpful. So we really thank them, and that kind of thing happens to everyone. So yeah, that little production incident for them, but I'm sure they will fix it. I've opened an issue which will be on the next milestone with more details, so the private conversation doesn't stay private. Are there any questions, things to add, or need for clarification on that topic? Nope. Okay. Reminder, that's Java Patch Day, the 15th of July. So most probably we will have automatic update CLI pull request for updating of the platform before end of July. So let's wait for the 1st of August before trying to do manual updates. So Mark is not here, but Bruno, you are you are volunteered to remind Mark. No stress. We have 2 weeks. Everything will be done automatically.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruno. Finally, we mentioned the infra roadmap. The goal is to surface the top level topic that we are working or going to work on. So we give more visibility than just during our team meeting or issue tracker. So I've opened an issue that everyone reviewed, at least everyone involved in infra. We are waiting for board member to give their approval and merge. You can see the preview updates. So I'm going to open that preview so we can assess all together the priorities for the infra, just to be sure we are all on the same area. So I'm going to focus only on the Jenkins project internal section. The rest are, let's say, sideline. The column we are working of the thing we are working on is the yellow one. Preview, as Stefan and Bruno worked on this thing, it's currently available but not easily. So that's why the preview status. A bit of work is needed in order to make it easier, but it's soon. It's not a lot of work, so that's why preview status. If you want to try, you can. We are this week planning to migrate CI Jenkins.io from Azure to AWS, so we consume the right credits on the right cloud account. That's our top and central priority right. Then the two major topics we are going to work on will be migrating PKG virtual machine outside of its current location to our modern Azure infrastructure and trying to move away from puppets on the less than 10 virtual machine we are using. Finally, on the near-term future, we will have to work on modernizing account Jenkins.io. Right now, it's too far away for us to have any plan on it. Of course, these topics are the big topics, but we have the day-to-day operation and updates to maintain. Mention the Java patch update, for instance. So are there any points, objection, question, need for clarification on this roadmap that should cover the upcoming quarter? Okay, cool. So back to the notes. So now, that being said, I don't have other announcements. Do you have other announcements you want to make? Nope. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the upcoming calendar. Next week, we will be the 8th of July, and we will release the Jenkins Wiki 2.5.18. I have no idea when is the next LTS. I sadly failed to find the right calendar event. It exists somewhere, but I don't know when. So I will complete the notes. We had one last week, so in any case, it will be end of month or even in August. We don't have any security release advisory publicly announced or planned. And we have a few credentials expiring in 3 weeks. Thanks, Stefan, for creating an issue to track them. So we are going to renew or do things for them in the upcoming milestone. And no next major event where you will be able to meet the Jenkins Infra team. That's all for the calendar. Do you have things to add, clarifications, something else in the calendar part? Nope. Okay. Now cloud budget part. For every areas, I didn't bother to look at the consumption for July because the day is not even finished and we are the first day of July. So the forecast doesn't make any sense. However, let's have a look at the consumption for June. For the Azure CDF paid accounts, we are below 3.5K. Don't forget the $100 of support that we pay monthly. So we are way below the threshold. The threshold we expect is 4.5K per month. So we are in good rates, even with added resources. That means Stefan's work on the spot instances for Infra CI is doing well. So let's continue like this. Now, on the Azure sponsorship subscription, the one that ends in August, we now have 6K credits remaining. That means we can wait 1 to 2 weeks before moving CI Jenkins.io. And then these credits will be used by all the other workloads we are running in the system. We consume 10K thanks to the work that Basil, Mark, Adrien, Bruno, and Darren Pop worked. So now we have less bills in the bottom, and we are going to improve that once moved to AWS. Digital Ocean is under the we are waiting for the official invoice, but we are clearly below the usual consumption, so that's good. We cleaned up resources. We should have increased the consumption next month, though, because one of our team members not here today had the need to have a machine to test some elements. So that will be a slight increase, but not that much. June on AWS CloudBees, where we still have 3 machines, including the infamous PKG virtual machine. We are still under 600 per month. And as you can see, we increased the consumption on AWS sponsored accounts. That's where we are going to move CI Jenkins.io. Of course, we have already started to. On JFrog front, we have a slight decrease on the storage, thanks to Darren cleanup of the Git cache. And we have 22 terabytes, so we are quite stable on the outbound bandwidth downloads. Basil is still working on this with Daniel Beck on where will be areas that will help us decrease that amount. As a reminder, JFrog would like to have no more, no less than 10 terabytes. No news on that front as well. Any questions need for clarification in the cloud budget? No? Let's continue. So during the last milestone, we were able to finish 4 tasks. First, thanks Stefan for allowing Packer to build AWS AMI again. So we have a single all-in-one system using Packer, an open source tool by HashiCorp, that allows us to build, let's say, machine templates, which are the same, whether it's a Docker container, an Azure virtual machine, or now an AWS EC2 virtual machines. As a developer, you can expect the same tool, the same version on any of these elements. That allows us to have a centralized location where to put all of our tooling. That was a requirement in order to move CI Jenkins.io to AWS. Of course, we need agents to be able to stop machines.
I would like to add something, Damien.
Yep.
During that process, we had to disable again the Ghost test for Windows because they are not, how you say that? Efficient, stable, efficient enough on the Windows area,
Stable.
and only on Windows. Stable, I did that. I said that.
Yep. Okay, perfect.
And so we will probably have to find another tool to make sure that we are correctly checking our images when they're done.
Good reminder. I forgot about that. Thanks, Stefan.
You're welcome.
So it's still running on Linux, but we thought GOS was a good test harness. But on Windows, it's really unstable.
It's really working well on Linux, though.
Yes, but the goal is to have the test harness. If we need to implement 2 test harnesses based on the operating system, whether to switch to another one. So we will need to search to something else. Yep, that will be a task.
If you're a Go expert watching that video, go ahead and help them on the Windows area.
Good point. So thanks, Stefan. Any question on this one? Okay, next issue on the Keep Platform Up to Date category, we updated all of our platform to use the latest Jenkins LTS. Nothing specific here. That issue is created as part of the usual LTS release process by the LTS release lead, and we did the deployment with audit tracking. On the Keep Platform sane and maintainable, first, Stefan was able to finish. It was already almost done last week, so now it's effective. Infra CI, that's a private controller, runs agents on container and virtual machine. The container agents are now back to the normal Azure CDF paid subscription using spot instances. Just a point here, nothing specific to say that has been done, that except a few infra reports, long-running builds are aborted due to spot reclaimed instances. These jobs are medium importance, Stefan, so no emergency.
We need to retry. No, yeah.
Yes, but that means implementing templates with on-demand instances, etc.
Good.
An alternative will be to use virtual machines for this. But we have to think about that, understand the problem, and once we have finished the migration, we can fix it. Thanks, Jack, for the contribution around the cleanup deprecated GNLP arguments. So we closed the issue because, in fact, the work was enough. The other areas were inbound agent managed by the Kubernetes plugin. The Kubernetes plugin already has been updated months ago to use the proper arguments like you did on our system. So your contribution allowed us to clean that issue. Thanks again, because now we don't have that deprecated message warning. Any question on the work done? Did I miss something? Okay, let's have a look at the work in progress then. Our top, let's say, main problem is billing management. We need to be sure that we finish the year. Don't be stressed. That will be okay. However, that means our top level priority is moving CI Jenkins IO from Azure to AWS so we don't run out of subscription. It's not even credit, it's subscription. So we are on the right area now. On that part, so Stefan worked on the VM bit code. So almost to the first provisioning. And we have the EKS cluster up and running with the application. So that cluster is now able to sustain the workload of container agent for CI Jenkins once it will be migrated. So as soon as the virtual machine is fully provisioned with Puppet, we can start 24 hours of tests. So we'll run most of the usual big jobs, Jenkins core, the BOM, test harness, a few plugins. And if all of these tests work as expected and spin up agent and work with no issue, then we can start planning the migration of the effective migration of the current instance. Most probably end of week or beginning of next week. Test and active migration. Last time it took 2 hours to do the migration. That's quite easy and fast. Any question on this one? So we keep working both Stefan, Jay, and I on this one as the top level priority. On the stats part, delayed, focused on AWS migration. Moving to mid-July. So yes, the statistics for May won't be published. Reminder, right now I got the knowledge sharing from Andrew. I need to generate the statistics, which require a machine with PostgreSQL and enough disk, like 800 gigabytes, to load the actual dump he shared with us, integrate all the data, and generate and push on the GitHub repository. Note, there are also gaps in the last month's stats. Need to diagnose. So there are two kinds of issues. There are issues on stats, Jenkins IO website itself, which I don't know. That's a website I don't understand because if I reload page, I lose the context. I see a lot of requests and it's not always up to date, even though the statistics are up to date. So it's really hard to diagnose. At that time, we caught some gaps in the raw data outside the stats, Jenkins. So we need to look into that. That's why I prefer delaying after AWS migration, unless someone objects. So I will move into milestones. On the monitoring built on private Jenkins instances, we had a lot of progress. So only release.ci container agents are in to do. So we have documented, and that should be done after AWS migration. Stefan, still up to this one? Cool. And Jay successfully finished his pipe and library pull request. So needs to review it and integrate it. So we did the last feedback. So now we successfully demonstrated that any jobs that we select to can publish a summary of the build reports on the new website builds reports.jenkins.io. Next step, Jay will investigate the Datadog HTTP monitor. The goal is to monitor these build reports and provide us a dashboard and eventually alerting when a build is failing or a build hasn't been run after a certain amount of time. So that will be the next approach. Any question on this one? Now on the support category, there's been a request by Chris to get back the administrator access on the Jenkins GSOC channel on Elements. I don't know if it's buggy or if someone hacked it, but there are like 300 administrator and co-administrator, and their permission are 9. Like instead of read write admin, the literal permission is 9. So that's a mess. So Chris suggested that we could create a new one. No one has access on the usual Jenkins contributor board or the former GSOC admins. So we need to do a takeover request directly to Elements. If it fails, we will have to change the channel and let this one die. Need to contact Elements for takeover. So I need to ask Mark if the Jenkins board shouldn't take care of this one. Either it's me as the elected Jenkins officer or the Jenkins. I'm not sure which one is the best. I will say Jenkins board because there are many persons, so we have many persons that can take over, but maybe we only need one technical contact. I'm still not sure. So I'm going to consult the Jenkins board unless someone objects and see what they want. And GitHub Copilot organization space, it's on the Jenkins CI admin's hands. No infra task related. Don't get me started on GitHub Copilot, please. We didn't have news from LF Independence Day holidays, most probably. So let's check in 2 weeks. They are still working on the new Jira instance on the new VM with a new JDK. Stefan and Bruno, I think we are, that one was delayed. If I'm correct, we didn't do anything new since last week with this one.
I started the tools, but only on my computer. There's no pull request, nothing.
Okay. So we keep it on the milestone, is that okay?
Yes, I was waiting for my no, you say that, my Brittany traveling friend.
No problem. It's there. So it's there, it is safe.
Is back and safe, yes.
So we have the renewal of the different service password. Stefan, we will check you on high Thursday, between now and Thursday, on should we renew all or do something on some.
Okay.
OSUSL delayed until after the CI migration. And in Darren's, the last one is in Darren's hands. So Darren should report and eventually close on this one. So no action required from us. Now on the issue, so first, before going to triage, are there issues that are work in progress that you would want to mention, that you need clarification, question on? Nope. Okay, so we move to triage. First, I'm sorry, Jack. We were absolutely overwhelmed and we didn't have time to search for a beginner's level issue. So I think you will have to wait next week for to have news from us. I failed to send you a message to let you know, but right now, yeah, that's a bit too much for us. So time for us to select specific items. I think we'll need to wait next week. Is that okay for you?
Are you talking about the time, meeting time?
Oh yes, meeting time for next week. Is that okay if we also delay that conversation because we will have too many events next Tuesday, and that's the only time slot that most of the team here will be available to join on. However, I think after the 15th July we can start having a change time earlier and later in order to have you and Jay and Birajit in a better time zone for you. Is that okay for everyone? So I'm gonna put that on the topic on the agenda for next week. Is that okay for you, Jack?
I can't get your point. Do you mean the time will be delayed next Tuesday?
The discussion about what will be the form of the new meeting time changes. Over.
So is there any proposal time?
No, not yet. We have to discuss it, but we need to have enough time to discuss it. We need to be prepared.
Okay.
I'm not prepared for that, and making the decision or the discussion right now will not lead to any outcome. That's why next week I will come prepared. I've written it here.
But currently, the meeting time is okay for me.
Okay.
Oh, the current meeting time.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good to know.
Yeah.
Is current meeting time. Okay. So maybe we won't have to change, but just I think we should see what our options are, or at least have the same discussion of how can we be sure that we include everyone.
Okay.
Thanks. Back to the triage. So we have two new issues for the new milestone. The renew Docker open source program, of course, otherwise we will have issues seriously soon. And there's been a request for a new mirror in Germany. I'm gonna put this one in a new milestone. Docker must be fixed as soon as possible. For the new mirror, we'll see if we have time, otherwise it will be delayed, and I will take care of answering Sidelister in the issue. Write this down. We have a new issue opened by Philip Glantz about a contribution he wants to make on the repository permission updater system. I told him to delay until after most of the persons of the team are back from their respective holidays or long weekend of July. Reminder, 4th of July is Independence Day in the US. 14th July is also usually a long weekend in France, and most of us are also based in France. So until 16, that will be hard to have everyone full time. So that's why I told Philip it's safer to plan to merge his contribution at the risk of breaking RPU builds on Trusted CI, which is a private controller, to a moment where we have most of the team available. So that's why, unless someone objects, I suggest we keep that issue in triage so we don't forget about it.
And that's not only the infra team, that's also the security team.
That's another process. But yeah, good point. If they are there, that will help as well. But once it's merged, it's more us. Either it works or it's broken. I've created an issue. Jack, you can start reading about it if you are interested and if you have time. So no obligation, don't feel compelled to do it. But I've started to track the work about tombstoning puppets and replace it by something else.
I really feel that it would be really cool if you can read it, really.
Oh, no, no pressure. But that issue stay on trade, right? And the
Okay.
rest stay on trade.
I will try this one.
Cool, thanks. The goal is to start thinking. I think the proposal you made, Jack, about starting with an Ansible role to spin up a Jenkins controller could be a good start, especially since you've already put your hands in the Puppet code we are using now, the GNLP update you made. It's inside that big, ugly Puppet that has exactly the same abstract concept as Ansible. So in Puppet, it's a profile. In Ansible, it's a role. That's almost the same thing. So the idea is, if you have ideas or things you can start, that will be a good first step, because we could start thinking about, okay, what is required? What do we need to learn from the tool and from you? And what are our requirements? So we can write down our requirement in a way better way than today, because today it's only implicit knowledge.
Okay.
So yep, all these issues are staying in TryH in the backlog. And I think we are done for today, because that's all for me. Are there other points or things you want to discuss today, folks?
And you were fast.
Tried. Okay, so I'm stopping sharing my screen. So if no one has no topic, I suggest everyone can go back to the normal life. See you next week for people watching us, and for people who can stay up late or are on the right time zone. A reminder: it's SIG meeting, a platform SIG meeting time later today, led by Bruno. So it's about the Jenkins platform, packages, Java version, etc., for artifact that we give to Jenkins users. So if you're interested, don't hesitate.
Oh, I think that's for the shootout, Damien.
That's all for me. Nothing else? Okay, so in that case, bye-bye, everyone. Take care and see you next week.
Bye-bye, Jeremy,
Thank
too.
you.